All right, this morning reaction is pouring into D.C.'s multi-billion-dollar deal to bring the Washington Commanders back here to RFK Stadium. Now, it's a plan that's been 30 years in the making ever since the team moved to Maryland back in 1997. Commanders owner Josh Harris and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser joined by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to announce a nearly $4 billion deal to bring the Commanders home to D.C. It marks the largest private investment in the district ever. That money will go not just towards the stadium, but towards road work, parking garages, and a youth sports complex. The area around the new stadium will have up to 6,000 new homes, shops, restaurants, and bars, and 54 acres of green space. It comes at a time when the district is being asked to limit spending by the federal government. But Mayor Bowser says the city needs this investment now more than ever.
If you need to add revenue, as we do, you can't leave 180 acres vacant. If you need to add jobs, as we do, you cannot wait for an anchor to show up to start developing there. When you need to attract business, you have to be about business.
And the NFL seems to agree.
I think the commitment by Josh and the city to bring the team back into D.C. is a really important one. I think emotionally, but also I think it signifies that they care about this community, they care deeply about it, and they're going to do the right things to make this franchise successful.
In terms of what the new stadium itself will look like, we know it will be a dome stadium, so fans will be inside with 65,000 seats. That's enough to host a Super Bowl. We also are looking at about 8,300 parking spots. The new stadium could open in the fall of 2030. Now, Commanders owner Josh Harris is also counting on this plan as a win. He had a chance to talk to Chick Hernandez. He spoke with them about this and talked about why this deal is so important for the team.
9-year-old Josh Harris going to a game, and now here you are bringing what amounts to this team back to that RFK site. On the personal side for you, when this all started to come to fruition, how did it hit you?
It hits you in such an amazing way. You feel part of something that is truly special, that's truly going to make a difference in the city. I mean, I remember on Sundays, everything shutting down. I remember riding my bike to Chevy Chase Circle, and no one's out. There are no cars, and everyone's in watching football. But as a 9-year-old, I remember walking in and hearing the crowd and just being blown away and watching, at that point, probably Sonny Jurgensen or Billy Kilmer, literally.
Sure.
So look, you know, having gone through all those memories, it really matters to me and my family to be able to do this for the city.
Listen, you're a businessman, right? I checked. I Googled you.
It's true, it's true.
It's true. It's all true.
Quietly acknowledged.
When you took over the ownership of this team, was this always the plan? Like when you decided that first thought of, you know what, I want to get this team. Was this always the plan to make sure you get this team, build a winner, and move to D.C.?
This was always our first choice to do that. So it was always the plan to reconnect with the city, change the fan experience, and then obviously build a winning team. Our first choice was always RFK because we really felt that being the center of DMV, being in D.C., being in the spiritual home, where the team had won so many Super Bowls, being a part of the D.C. community and allowing, you know, for the being in the location which made it the easiest for all of our fans, not just our fans in one jurisdiction or another. We always thought that was the right answer.
All right, now, while many are applauding this plan, it's not yet a done deal. There are some concerns about the money. The D.C. Council still needs to approve this plan. It's a $3.8 billion laid out plan. The Commanders are supposed to cover $2.7 billion here. The district has committed to covering the rest, which is a little more than $1.1 billion. Some say they're confused about why the city would talk about investing that much taxpayer money in this when the city is facing a budget crisis. So Jess Arnold is here now. She joins us live with more on those concerns and where we go from here. Jess, good morning to you. It's a lot to sort out here, right, amongst the excitement of, hey, we're coming back to D.C., but now it's about the money.
Right, and it's a few hurdles to get through,
Right,
right? Like,
right.
of course, the council has to approve of this. And in terms of where we stand right now, there were 4 council members that joined Mayor Bowser yesterday at her announcement, so it seems they're signaling their support. That's McDuffie, Pinto, Anita Bonds, as well as Felder, who
Right.
represents Ward 7,
Right.
which is where RFK is. So that is obviously a key vote of support there. And we need 7 out of 12 of these council members to approve this plan. So let's start. We want to hear from those who support it. We're going to hear from Councilmember Felder as well as McDuffie first.
As a council member, I do plan to conduct a robust community engagement plan to go directly to neighbors, especially around the surrounding communities, and figure out what we can do to ensure that their quality of life is not disrupted.
We want to make sure that we're working together as a council, working with the executive to do what's in the best interest of District of Columbia residents and taxpayers and families, and that's our priority. This deal is going to fit within those priorities and really.
Now, others are flagging major concerns, however, like Council Chair Phil Mendelson, as well as Councilmember Charles Allen. Councilmember Allen calls this a bad deal for D.C., writing in a statement in part that while the district is facing a recession and tens of thousands of workers are losing their jobs, this proposal is asking D.C. residents to pay more than $4 million for each and every home game for the next 30 years. A proposal that doesn't even include funding for a sorely needed metro station expansion to give people alternatives to driving. He added that unlike Nats Park and Capital One Arena that hosts events year-round, it won't be active most of the year, and so it cannot become this promised economic engine. Now, some D.C. neighbors have also asked, how can we be talking about paying $1 billion for a stadium when the city is facing major budget cuts? Well, the money's coming from different pots. That's important to remember. Operating and capital budgets. Operating is what is really facing the strain we've been talking about, where there are potential layoffs in things like public safety and education. Capital is investments in infrastructure, which is where all of this money for the RFK Stadium site would come from. Again, Mayor Bowser continues to push that this will be an economic driver. She wants to make DC a sports and entertainment hub, saying that we have to pivot the economy, and this is how to do it.
Right.
You know, of course, Congress would also have to approve this deal if the council does as well. Mayor Bowser has been teasing more announcements with the 2026 budget coming up while we're still in the mix, right? Waiting for them to approve the
It's a
2025 budget.
Yeah, it's a lot
It's
of
a lot.
numbers and a lot for people to
Yes.
consume here. And you know what else? What else, Jess? The D.C. Council, they aren't the only ones. Some of the only ones who are split on this issue. There's a group called Homes Not Stadiums. They're pushing for a public referendum on this particular issue. They've said they'd rather see affordable housing here in the RFK area, and they want the future of the stadium to be put to a vote.
To ask the taxpayers, especially in a time like this, where everyone is struggling, to make us pay for a $1 billion stadium for some billionaire who's worth more than that and can easily pay for that themselves, I just think is such a slap in the face for voters, citizens.
All right, the Homes and Not Stadiums have already filed a ballot initiative, and tonight they're holding a public meeting to share their concerns about this. It starts at 6 at the Hill Center in Navy Yard. You can also join virtually on Facebook. Now, we want to know what you think about this potential deal to bring the Commanders back to Washington, D.C. Text us your thoughts at the number you see on your screen. That number is 202-895-5599. So, while there is a lot of excitement about the potential for the Commanders to come back to Washington, D.C., it is not a done deal yet. We know that the contract in Maryland out at on Northwest Stadium ends in 2027. If this is a deal that they can get done, the owners and the city thinks that they could have a stadium here by 2030. But still, we got a long way to go before we get there.
We do have a long road, a very complex issue with lots of layers, decision-making involved. Thanks, Wisdom, and thank you, Jess. 5:12 is our time. President Donald Trump is about to